pop art will in many ways be a reaction to what we saw from abstract expressionism. Of course, when you see a movement one way, whether it be in a society or in politics, or in this case in art, we usually see a reaction headed the other way. And that's exactly what's happening here with pop art. They look at the concrete issues that are missing in abstract expressionism. In other words, when you look at abstract expressionism, the pop artists sort of look at it as requiring a black beret and turtleneck. And that's not right. They want something that's going to speak to the public, but still get at those really interesting ideas, that sort of mirror of your own train of thought, mirror of interpretation coming out in pop art. So these pieces will still draw out your own ideas, but they do so through very concrete visual language. So this is art based on modern popular culture and the mass media, especially as a critical or ironic comment on the traditional fine art values. So they are kind of picking on fine art, taking that Dada tradition. Think of Fountain, think of Duchamp. And yet they're still trying to play on that idea of drawing an individual interpretation out of the viewer. So how are they doing that? Well, what they're going to do is they're going to look at the art world, and what they see is art that has a limited audience, things that tend to be of very high value. This is known as high art. It tends to be the sort of thing that you see in galleries or museums. And then we have popular art. After all, look around you. You probably see design all around. For example, your desk was designed by someone, but it's not usually considered to be a piece of art. It's low art or commercial art as opposed to high art. We see the same thing with the chair you're sitting in, or maybe the car you're driving. Don't drive and watch YouTube videos, but you get the idea. And so what they're going to do is they're going to take those low art forms, they're going to make them concrete and use them in a way that translates them into high art. And because they're low art, because they're things that we are familiar with, it will draw the viewer in. And so what they're going to do is they're going to revive the use of signs, symbols, metaphors, allusions, and various figural imagery. Now, what we're going to see is a movement that is firmly grounded in consumer culture, trying to draw off of the most concrete things, the things that surround us all the time: Coke bottles, Campbell's soup cans, flags, any number of other things, many of which are considered to be disposable, not the sort of thing that we tend to keep around as high art. And yet they're often asking us where that line is. After all, someone designed the Campbell's soup can, so shouldn't we look at it as art at some level? They will also look at mass culture and generally familiar objects. But when they present them generally out of context, which means that you need to apply your own meaning to these massive pieces. And you can see here, these are generally quite sizable pieces. And so it's going to draw out that individual thought process, that individual interpretation. So in essence, it's reacting to abstract expressionism by using concrete symbols that everyone's familiar with and comfortable with to draw out the same sort of interpretation that we saw from abstract expressionism.